Okay, so we'll focus on the computation of the consolidated retained earnings tonight, class. But before that, even before the subject class, how do you compute for the ending balance of your retained earnings? It has always been simple, class. Retained earnings beginning plus or minus profit or loss minus dividends. That's it. In your intermediate accounting, you may have other deductions there for appropriations because you will have unappropriated and appropriated retained earnings. But that is not an issue in this topic. So your retained earnings class has always been retained earnings beginning plus or minus profit or loss and then deduct dividends paid. And the balance would already be your ending RE. The same is true for your consolidated retained earnings class. Okay? But why would many students not realize that? Why would students not realize that your consolidated RE is just the same as your RE in your intermediate accounting? One possible reason, class, is that before this chapter, our answer for consolidated retained earnings had been very simple, class. Before this chapter, meaning in the consolidated financial statements at the date of acquisition, what was our answer for the RE, class, to be reported in the consolidated FS at the date of acquisition? The consolidated RE is simply the retained earnings of the parent. So by the time we move on to the subsequent financial statements, the students would think it should just be the same as the date of acquisition. What's the rule for retained earnings at the date of acquisition? Retained earnings of the parent. So students would now insist, if it's the retained earnings at the end of 1 year or 1 year from the date of acquisition, it should just be the RE of the parent. But again, whose perspective are we looking from in class when we are preparing the consolidated financial statements? We're looking from the perspective of the consolidated entity. Okay? So you cannot always rely on the books of the parent because in accounting, the parent is different from the consolidated entity. It's just that if it's at the date of acquisition, they will have the same balance because they will start at the same amount. But moving forward, the income of the parent is not just the income of the consolidated entity. Okay, so when we're talking about subsequent balance class, do not be stubborn in insisting that your consolidated retained earnings will simply be the retained earnings of the parent. Remember, when you look at the balances reported by the parent, it only takes into account its own transactions. But whose transactions would be considered if we are preparing the FS of the consolidated entity? It would be all the transactions of the consolidated entity. And what are these transactions? The transaction of the parent, who represents the controlling interest, and the transactions of the subsidiary. Okay, so I hope you understand that subsequent to the date of acquisition, you cannot expect the consolidated balances to be the same with that of the separate financial statements of the parent. But again, since we do not maintain separate books for the consolidated entity, we are forced to rely on the records of the parent. But again, it's not the same. It's not. It will not just be a 1:1 equivalency. That whatever is the RE of the parent will automatically be the RE of the consolidated entity. Okay, but why does that happen at the date of acquisition? Because there's nothing that will cause any difference yet because you are still at the start. But once you are moving away from the date of acquisition, expect that there will already be causes for differences for the amount reported by the parent and the amount to be reported by the consolidated entity. But going back, how should we approach the RE balance class? The same way you've approached the retained earnings balance in all your previous subjects. And again, how do you compute for retained earnings end? Retained earnings beginning plus profit or minus loss and then minus dividends. That's it. Okay. Now the question is, sir, that's what the parent is doing. Why can we not simply copy the retained earnings of the parent when what the parent does in its ending RE is RE beginning of the parent plus profit of the parent or minus loss of the parent minus dividends paid by the parent. Why can we not just rely on the amounts reported by the parent? Because again, the profit of the parent is not synonymous with the profit of the consolidated entity. But again, what's our general formula for ending RE class? RE beginning plus or minus profit or loss minus dividends. And again, that will work even for the consolidated entity. But instead of just using the profit of the parent, what do I want you to do? RE of the consolidated entity beginning plus what? Profit. What profit? Should it be the profit of the parent? No. Should it be the profit of the subsidiary? No. What profit are you going to add to your beginning consolidated RE to arrive at the ending consolidated RE? It should be the profit of the consolidated entity. Do you get the difference? How does the parent compute for its ending RE class? It will use its own profit. How does the subsidiary compute for its ending RE? It will also use its own profit. So obviously, if we are trying to compute for the R class, I hope you understand when I say RE, I'm referring to retained earnings. So if we are trying to solve for the retained earnings of the consolidated entity, then the profit that you should be adding should be the profit of the consolidated entity. Okay? And it's that simple, class. RE of the parent, use the profit of the parent. RE of the subsidiary, use the profit of the subsidiary. RE of the consolidated entity, use the profit of the consolidated entity. But the problem is, we do not have a readily available income statement for your consolidated entity. So what do? We rely on the income statement of the parent and the income statement of the subsidiary to get the income of the consolidated entity. Okay? And if you've watched the recording class, again, there are two approaches in computing for consolidated income. Okay? Basically, the profit of the consolidated entity will be our consolidated income. But again, there are two approaches in determining consolidated income. You have your entity approach and your parent approach. Okay? Now, in computing for the consolidated retained earnings ending balance class, again, we have settled that it should just be the profit of the consolidated entity. Okay? But which consolidated income are we going to be using? Consolidated income under the entity approach or consolidated income using the parent approach? And the answer is the latter, class. The income that you are going to add to the beginning consolidated RE would be the consolidated income using the parent approach. But again, please don't make the mistake. The consolidated income under the parent approach is still the income of the consolidated entity. But what did we do? We are simply removing the share of the non-controlling interest. Because where do we place the share of the non-controlling interest? Where do we put the share of the non-controlling interest in the income of the subsidiary? Where do we put the amount that we will remove from the consolidated income under the entity approach? It will be close to your it will be close to your non-controlling interest account. So basically, class, in computing for the consolidated RE ending, where do we begin? Consolidated RE beginning plus consolidated income under the parent approach or the consolidated income attributable to the parent. Then, if it's a loss, minus. Then what else? Deduct dividends. Whose dividends, class? This is where students get confused. In computing for the consolidated RE, whose dividends are you going to deduct? The dividends declared and paid by the parent. Because again, we are now trying to get the retained earnings of the consolidated entity. Okay, and the consolidated entity can be broken down into the parent and the controlling interest and the non-controlling interest. Okay. Why am I emphasizing whose dividends we will be deducting, class? Okay, there is also another scenario wherein you will be deducting dividends. Okay, there is a scenario wherein you will be deducting the dividends of the subsidiary. But in what questions will that happen, class? That will happen if you are asked for consolidated income, and what is given is the income of the parent that includes dividend income. In the discussion in the other problems class, I emphasize it's important that you know whether the income given for the parent is from its own operations or not. Because if the amount given is not from its own operations, you need to deduct dividends received from the subsidiary. But again, let's try to put that aside first. Let's focus on retained earnings class. In computing for the consolidated retained earnings, what are the three things that can be relevant class? Number one, profit. Second, loss. Third, dividends. This would be the consolidated profit or loss attributable to the parent, and then the dividends paid by the parent class. Very important. Okay, let's try to apply that in problem 15-10. The question here is, on December 31, 2017, the consolidated retained earnings should be, and the date of acquisition is on January 2. So we are a full year away from the date of acquisition. What else is given? The purchase price was equal to Puzon's equity in Suarez's net assets at that date. On January 2, 2017, Puzon and Suarez had retained earnings of 500 and 100, respectively. During 2017, Puzon had CI stands for comprehensive income of 200,000, which included its equity in Suarez's dividends and declared dividends of 50,000. Suarez had comprehensive income of 40 and declared dividends of 20,000. There were no other intercompany transactions. Okay. Now, what did I say? Where do we begin in computing for your RE class? Start with your RE beginning. Whose RE beginning class? No, the consolidated entity. But they will be the same class. Again, I mentioned this. The beginning consolidated RE will be the same as the RE of the parent at the date of acquisition. And that is why students would, again, have the misconception that you will be starting with the RE of the parent. No, you will be starting with the RE of the consolidated entity. It just so happens that everything starts at the date of acquisition. And on the date of acquisition, the RE, the beginning RE of the consolidated entity will just be the RE of the parent. Okay, but starting now, I want you to grow accustomed to with calling this as the RE of the consolidated entity. But again, they will just be the same as of the date of acquisition. Okay, how much is the beginning RE of the consolidated entity or the retained earnings of the consolidated entity at the date of acquisition? Given how much? 500 or 100? 500. Okay, 500 is the beginning in retained earnings of the consolidated entity. Then you would ask, sir, isn't that the RE of the parent? Yes, they will have the same balance at the date of acquisition. Okay. Next, add what? Profit or loss. What profit are we whose profit are we going to add? The profit of the consolidated entity. And how do we get that? By computing for the consolidated income attributable to the parent. And what are the two things we need for the consolidated income attributable to the parent? The first is the income of the parent from its own operations. Here in this problem, you are given with 200,000 class. Is this the income of the parent from its own operations class? Is this the income of the parent from its own operations? No, because the 200, as the problem states, includes the share of the parent in the dividends of the subsidiary, which included its equity in Suarez's dividends. So that means the 200,000 includes dividend income received from the subsidiary. But again, what do we need in solving for consolidated income? Do we need the total income of the parent? Do we need the income reported by the parent? Do we need the comprehensive income of the parent? No. What do we need? We need the income of the parent from its own operations. Okay? And again, I cannot emphasize this enough, class. What we need to solve for consolidated income is the income of the parent from its own operations. Will that be given in the problem, class? Yes, sometimes. If it's not given, what else could be given? You would be given with the total or the total comprehensive income of the parent. How is it different? Class, how is the comprehensive income of the parent different from the income of the parent from its own operations? The former includes dividend income. Okay, what we need is an amount that does not include dividend income. Because I cannot emphasize that enough. So please make sure that you remember that one. What we need is the income of the parent from its own operations. But why will still students get it wrong? Because sometimes the problem will give you the total income of the parent, and students would think that the income reported by the parent is the same as the income of the parent from its own operations. That's incorrect. Okay? The total comprehensive income of the parent could also be introduced as the income reported by the parent. But is that what we need? No, what we need is the income of the parent from its own operations. If the income of the parent from its own operations is already given, then well and good. But what will normally happen in the problem? You will be given with the income reported by the parent or the total comprehensive income of the parent, which again, I must emphasize, is not the same as the income of the parent from its own operations. What is their difference? The former includes dividend income. What we need is the amount that does not include dividend income. So again, the 200,000, does this include, is this already the income of the parent from its own operations? No. From the 200,000, what do we need to do? We need to remove the dividend income included in that amount. And how much is the dividend income included in that amount? You check how much dividends were given by the subsidiary. How much dividends were given by the subsidiary, class? Total dividends given by the subsidiary is 20,000. Are we going to deduct the entire 20,000? No, because the parent did not receive the entire 20,000. Meaning, the amount of dividend income included in the 200,000 is not 20,000. So if you are asked, how much dividend income was included in the 200,000 income of the parent? Again, if you are asked, how much dividend income is included in the total income of the parent? Your answer would be whatever is the share of the parent in the 20,000 total dividends. And how much is the share of the parent, class? 80%. And how much is 80% of 20,000? 16,000. So if you're asked how much is the dividend income of the parent, the answer here is 16,000. So in computing for the income of the parent from its own operations, you deduct 16 from 200. And so that means if you are asked how much is the income of the parent from its own operations, our answer would be 184,000. Okay? Once you have the income of the parent from its own operations, what else do you need? Add the adjusted income of the subsidiary. But here, I don't think there are any adjustments to the income to the subsidiary. Okay? So, this would be, income of the subsidiary is 40,000. So you add 40 and how much was the income from own operations, class? 184 plus 40 will give you what? 224,000. What do we call this 224,000? The consolidated income using the entity approach. But is that what we are going to add to the beginning RE, class? No. What do we need to add? We need to add the consolidated income using the parent approach. Again, how do we call the 224? Consolidated income using the entity approach. But what do we need? We need the consolidated income using the parent approach, because that is the income attributable to the parent. So how do we arrive at the consolidated income under the parent approach from the consolidated income under the entity approach? Simply deduct the share of the non-controlling interest in the income of the subsidiary. Again, how much was the income of the subsidiary class? Income of the subsidiary was 40. How much is the share of the non-controlling interest? 20% or equivalent to 8,000. So you deduct the 8,000 from 224. So 224 minus 8 will give you 216,000. What do we call this 216,000? Income attributable to the parent or the consolidated income under the parent approach. And is this what we need to solve for the ending RE class? Yes. Okay? And so far, class, from this question lang, several questions could be asked. Number one, how much was the dividend income of the parent? How much was the dividend income? 16,000. Next question, how much is the income of the parent from its own operations? 184,000. Next question, how much is the consolidated income consolidated income under the entity approach? 184 plus 40. That was the 224. Next question, how much was the share of the NCI in the income of the subsidiary? 8,000. Then 224 minus 8,000 will give you 216. And what's the question wherein the answer will be 216,000 class? How much is the consolidated income under the parent approach? Or how much is the income attributable to the parent? So how many questions was that? Dividend income, income from own operations, consolidated income under the entity approach, share of the NCI in the income of the subsidiary, and 5. The fifth question is consolidated income under the parent approach or the income attributable to the parent. Okay, can these 5 questions be asked from this problem? Yes. Okay, but what is asked in this problem lang, class? Retained earnings ending. So what am I trying to point out, class? You need to correctly answer these 5 just for you to come close at getting ending RE right, class. Okay, and this is where the challenge lies. You are already taught as to the flow, class, or the composition, but it's just that the process will now be longer, class. If you commit any mistake on any of these components, expectedly your final answer would also be wrong. And that's where the benefit of a shotgun problem comes in. Even if you will get your consolidated RE wrong, you may be given credit for solving dividend income or for solving share of the NCI. Okay, you can get everything wrong, but you can still get the 8,000 share of the NCI. At least not everything will be in vain, class, if you get one thing wrong. So it's not acceptable for anyone to get 0, class. Going back. We've gone through these 5 things just for us to come close at getting the ending RE, class. Why am I saying we're just getting close? Because we still need one more thing. Do you follow? Beginning RE. How much was the beginning RE? 500. Then add the considered income attributable to the parent in the amount of 216,000. There's one more thing. What was the other thing, class? Deduct the dividends declared and paid by the parent. Okay? Remember the 16,000, class? The 16,000 share dividend income of the parent. Where did we get this one? We got this from the dividends paid by the subsidiary. Okay? And this is where there may be an overlap in the terminologies. But if we are trying to solve for ending RE of the constituted entity, whose RE are we going to be deducting from the beginning? Whose dividend declarations are we going to deduct from the beginning RE? The declarations of the parent. Do you follow, class? Now, in all our computation, class, twice na relevant ang dividend declaration. The first one was the declaration of the subsidiary. But class, I want you to understand, the declaration of the dividends by the subsidiary was only relevant in computing for the income of the parent from its own operations. Meaning, if you were already given with the income of the parent from its own operations, then the dividends declared by the subsidiary would not have been relevant in the computation of the RE of the consolidated entity. Because again, the most relevant dividend declaration is the dividends declared by the parent class. But why would we be using the dividends declared by the subsidiary? That is if we are not given with the income of the parent from its own operations. That is when it only becomes relevant. But if you are already given with the income of the parent from its own operations, the dividends declared by the subsidiary will not be relevant in computing for the ending retained earnings of the consolidated entity. And basically, class, we already have everything we need to solve for the ending RE. Okay, and that is beginning balance of 500 plus how much was the income attributable to the parent class? 216. How much dividends were declared by the parent? How much? 50,000. So 500 plus 216 minus 50 will give you how much? 666,000. And that would be the answer. So maybe we will have this basic question as in our exam. Then 6 questions will be asked. What are let's make it 7 so that you will have multiple opportunities to get questions wrong. What would be the first question? How much would be the beginning retained earnings of the consolidated entity? How much would be the retained earnings of the consolidated entity at the date of acquisition? Your answer would be 500,000. Next question. Dividend income of the parent. Dividend income of the parent is 16,000. Next question. Income of the parent from its own operations, 184,000. Next question. Share of the NCI in the income of the subsidiary, 8,000. Next question. Consolidated income under the entity approach, 224. Next question. Consolidated income under the parent approach or income attributable to the parent, 216,000. Next question. Ending retained earnings of the consolidated entity, 666,000. So that's 6 questions. 7? 7 na? Okay. Then we can even have 8 also, class. And class, the good thing with this problem is there are no adjustments needed for the income of the subsidiary. So how else can we complicate this problem? There may be instances that there will be a need to make adjustments to the income of the subsidiary. And for this chapter, when will that happen? If there are excess to be amortized. And what is the source of that excess? If the fair value is different from the book value. Okay, but at least even if you do not know what to do or how to determine the adjusted income of the subsidiary, you can answer many of those questions, class. Hopefully, you'll be able to save up points, even if you will get the ultimate question wrong. But let's add another question, class. In the separate financial statements of the parent, how much will be its retained earnings? In the separate balance sheet of the parent, how much will be its ending retained earnings? And again, how do you compute for ending RE? Beginning RE plus profit minus loss and minus dividends. So how much was the beginning? How much was the beginning profit of the? How much was the beginning profit of? Sorry, how much was the beginning RE of the parent class in its separate financial statements? Isn't the 500 the beginning RE of the consolidated entity? Yes, but again, as of the date of acquisition, they will be the same. Okay, and again, that is why students would think that it's always the same. When are they the same, class? Only at the date of acquisition. Okay, next, add what? Add the income of the parent. Because not the consolidated income attributable to the parent. Again, as I mentioned at the start, the total income of the parent is not the same as the consolidated income attributable to the parent. If you look at the separate income statement of the parent, how much total comprehensive income are you going to see? That would be the 200,000. Okay? So what do you do in the separate statement of retained earnings of the parent? Beginning balance 500, add profit. How much is the profit? 200. Next, deduct what? The same. Deduct the dividends declared by the parent. How much dividends were declared by the parent? 50,000. So 500 plus 200 minus 50 will give you how much? 650,000. And again, what is the question? What is the question wherein the answer is 650,000? How much is the retained earnings, ending retained earnings of the parent in its separate financial statements? Do you follow, class? Now compare that with the ending RE of the consolidated entity. How much was the ending RE of the consolidated entity? 666,000. How much is the difference? 16,000. Where do you think the 16,000 came from, class? Is it the dividend income of the parent? No. But they will be equal, class. Okay. The problem is not good. But the 16,000 difference, class, comes from the share of the parent in the undistributed earnings of the subsidiary. What am I trying to tell you now? The ending RE of the parent, the difference between the ending RE of the parent and the ending RE of the consolidated entity will simply be the share of the parent in the undistributed earnings of the subsidiary. What do we mean by undistributed earnings? Earnings that have not yet been distributed. It should be self-explanatory, class. So meaning whatever income earned by the subsidiary class and that were not given out as dividends, that will be your undistributed earnings. So going back, how much was the income of the subsidiary class? How much was the income of the subsidiary? Income of the subsidiary class, 40. How much dividends did the subsidiary declare? 20. So the subsidiary had income of 40 and it has given out dividends of 20. So how much do you think, how much income do you think it did not release, class, or it did not distribute? Also 20. Where did we get 20? 40 minus 20. Okay? That's the problem. If you give a half amount, class, baka you'll be confused where this amount comes from. Again, income of the parent is 40. Sorry, not parent. Income of the subsidiary is 40. Dividends distributed by the subsidiary is 20. So the amount of income not yet distributed is also 20. And it is this 20 that we will be using, class. Okay? We are not going to be using the 20 representing the dividends declared. What we need is the undistributed earnings. Do you follow? Now, how much again is the undistributed earnings? 20. How much is the share of the parent in the undistributed earnings? 80%. How much is the 80% of your 20? 16. And that will be the difference between the RE of the parent and the RE of the consolidated entity. But again, class, I don't want you to get confused. The 16 that we are saying, the difference here, is not the dividend income, class. Do you follow? Where did we get the dividend income? 80% of the 20. So basically the same, but the 20 that we were using then was the 20,000 declared by dividends declared by the subsidiary. It just so happens, class, now 40 minus 20 is also 20. For the difference between your RE, the 20 that we will be using would be the second 20,000. I hope you understand, class. Hopefully, we will encounter problems wherein it's not in the middle, class. Okay, but so basically, what's happening now? I have given you a second solution for ending RE of the consolidated entity, class. What was our first solution? Consolidated RE beginning plus income attributable to the parent or minus the loss minus dividends declared by the parent. What is the second solution I am giving you now? RE end of the parent. Do you get the difference in the starting point? In our first solution, what was the starting point? RE beginning of the consolidated entity. in our second solution, the starting point would be ending RE of the parent. Okay? We are trying to transform the ending RE of the parent to the ending RE of the consolidated entity. Okay? And is that possible, class, wherein you cannot use the first solution? Yes. Especially you're asked, how much is the RE of the consolidated entity on the 10th year? But you are not given, class. You're not given with the beginning RE. You're not given with the retained earnings at the date of acquisition. So what are you forced to do? You need to rely on the RE of the parent as of year 10. Transform the ending RE of the parent into the ending RE of the consolidated entity. You follow? But how do you get there? How do you get there? Just add the share of the parent in the undistributed earnings of the subsidiary. Okay? So with that, you would ask, sir, why did we even discuss the first solution? Okay? Why do we not just remember the second solution? Because there's one thing you have to remember for the second solution, class. If we're talking about undistributed earnings, it should be cumulative. Meaning, if you are asked for year 10 and if you're asked for year 10 ending RE, class, the undistributed earnings should be from the very beginning, class. What do I mean? Class, how did we solve for undistributed earnings? How did we solve for undistributed earnings? Profit of 40 minus dividends of 20. If it's year 10, class, the undistributed earnings should be cumulative. So what do I mean? Add all profit from year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then deduct all dividends distributed from year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And that will give you the undistributed earnings of the subsidiary. Okay, so you need to remember both, class. You need to remember both. So that would be the eighth question. How much is the ending RE of the parent? And the answer is the 650,000. So again, what is our second solution for ending RE, class? RE of the parent plus share in the undistributed earning, share of the parent in the undistributed earnings of the subsidiary. You follow? And that solution, class, also works even at the date of acquisition. How much is the RE of the parent at the date of acquisition, class? 500,000. How much will be the undistributed earnings of the subsidiary at the date of acquisition? Always 0. And that is why the RE of the consolidated entity at the date of acquisition will just be the same as the RE of the parent at the date of acquisition. Because again, what's the source of the difference between the RE of the parent and the RE of the consolidated entity? Simply the share of the parent in the undistributed earnings of the subsidiary. And it so happens that at the date of acquisition, undistributed earnings will always be 0, class. Okay? It has not yet started, man. Okay? So, class, if this comes out in the exam, there may be 8 questions that will be asked. So there should be no reason for you to get this wrong. Nobody should get 0, class. You follow? Then what will I do to change this problem? I'll just change 80% to 70 or 90. You follow? Even one minor change, class. Next, let's try to look for other retained earnings. $15. Okay. At least this is for 2. No, we will not finish this in. We only discuss one problem. 19 is short. No. it's still 2 years, class, and we'll end here.